welcome to Men Against Nonsense, where we deal with the nonsense up front and early. So let's deal with this. The headline says Baltimore man admits to assaulting, murdering 75-year-old woman. Um, this has got to be nonsense. I mean, let's look at this. Let's take a look at this.
An argument turns deadly in Northeast Baltimore. A son now charged with murdering his own mother. Hello, everyone. I'm Vic Carter.
And I'm Rick Ritter. Welcome to those of you watching on CBS News Baltimore this afternoon and right here on WJZ.
Shock and sadness in a Northeast Baltimore neighborhood tonight. Baltimore police say a man killed his 75-year-old mother and admitted to the crime.
And WJZ.
So I mean, one thing, it's one thing to be arguing with a woman, but now you're arguing with your mother. That's one. You're arguing with your mother. Two, you're having an argument with a woman in general. Let me be straight up and up front. Men shouldn't be arguing with women. It's an unnecessary way to communicate with a woman. You shouldn't be arguing with a woman. You shouldn't be arguing with another man, but in general, you shouldn't be arguing with a woman because it comes with risks, like prison time, like being escorted out of the house by police officers. Because if someone calls 911 and a domestic is called in, the male typically is moved out of the home. Period. But what could they have been arguing about that would have caused that argument to turn violent? What kind of emotional man was this that he had to resort to violence against a woman, one, two, against his mother? Absolute nonsense. This is outrageous. It makes me sick to my stomach just thinking about a man, one, hitting a woman, two, hitting your mom.
Live just outside of Baltimore Police Headquarters tonight. Jessica Albert was in that community where this crime happened and had a chance to speak with neighbors there. Jessica, awful story.
Yeah, it is, Rick. And many of the people that I talked to in that neighborhood say that they didn't actually know a murder had happened there because they say it's usually quiet there. I spoke with one neighbor who told me that the suspect was actually living with his mother at the time of the murder.
Look at that. Living with his mother. I think they say it was 52? 52? Living with your mother? This story should have came out differently. His mom should have been living with him if he was a man, if he was operating in manhood and a man's space. Men, we got to grow up. We have to grow up. I haven't lived with my mom since I was 19 years old. When I was in my early 20s, my mom moved in with me. My mom to this day can call me for financial support. We have to be men. We have to raise our families and take care of our elderly women. Our elderly fathers too, but especially our elderly women. We have to be men. This is not a game. We should not be harming elderly women. You get no respect for harming an elderly woman. I don't care what she said. I wouldn't even care if she spat on you. And I know that sounds outrageous. She's an elderly woman. And I would hope elderly wouldn't be spitting on people, obviously, if she was a real woman. But I gave that extreme example to understand how serious it is of being a real man in this society. You do not hit women. You do not hit elderly women. The only one thing I can think of that you would have a reason to hit a woman, and that's she's trying to murder you. I wouldn't say allow a woman to murder you. That's different. She slapped you, so what? Walk away. Walk away. You know how much damage you could probably do to her. Why would you even waste your time? Why would you risk your freedom to prove that you're stronger than a woman? That's not a man. A man wouldn't do that.
A quiet court in Northeast Baltimore rattled by a tragic murder.
It's not a norm. It's not something for the norm in this area.
Baltimore police say they got a call about a death on...
It shouldn't be normal. It better not be normal. But we're going in a direction where effeminate men harming women is becoming normal. And it shouldn't be normal that he's living with his mom at 52. We have to figure this thing out. We got some work to do, fellas. A lot of work to do. That's why it's called Men Against Nonsense. It's a movement. We need to be having conversations about manhood. We need to be acting like men. We need to be out in the communities helping. You see another young brother doing something insane, I'm not asking you to put your hands on him. Talk to him. He don't want to listen, you walk away. But the least you can contribute is trying to steer another young man in the right direction. Don't just walk by it like it's nothing. Remember, these young men are going to raise the next generation that will be attacking elderly women and elderly men. Remember the knockout game? Just think about that.
Gainsborough Court just before 3 Wednesday afternoon. When they got there, they found 75-year-old stewardess Burke with trauma to her upper body. She died at the scene. Police arrested her 52-year-old son, Kevin Burke, for her murder.
Well, how can you do that to your mom?
Police say Burke told them he assaulted his mother during a fight.
What is it that made him so mad for him to react like that?
A neighbor who didn't want to be identified on camera says Burke lived with his mother.
Attack his mother. What could you be arguing about? Nothing. I can't think of anything. Somebody think of something. Put it in the comments below. I can't think of anything.
And that she always had pleasant interactions with him.
I was very surprised. I've seen the young man coming and going, and he would speak, and I would speak to him. I don't want to desensitize it because that's not right. It's just the times that we are now, you never know what people are going through.
Police have not said what the fight between Burke and his mother was about. That's a question the community is wondering. They're also saddened to see.
And look, there was no man or male figure interviewed in this community to outcry of this tragedy, this nonsense from another man. We got to start speaking up, too. Hey, this is nonsense, man. Don't do that around here. We don't do that around here. Women have become the most outspoken vessels in our society. Men, we sit back and just, I guess we call ourselves minding our business. And there's a time to mind your business. That's true. I agree. But there's also a time to say, hey, you know what you're doing is not right. Or, hey, brother, why don't you go get a job and go get out of your mother's house? That kind of thing.
Something like this happened so close to the holidays.
That's what makes it even worse. You know, it's close to the holidays. They have my most sincere condolences, and they will be in my prayers. And I'm sorry that this had to happen.
But it didn't have to happen. It didn't have to happen. He put his big boy pants on and walked out the house instead of continuing to argue with a woman, specifically his mother. You should not be arguing with your mother. You should not be arguing with a woman. There's no need for that. And let me say this last thing. Definitely you should not be arguing with someone else's woman. If someone else's wife, girlfriend, whatever, wants to have an argument with you, your course of redress should be, hey, listen, I know you're in a relationship. It's not my place to argue or school you about anything. Go talk to your husband. Go talk to your boyfriend about the matter at hand. Because if that conversation goes south, what do you think she's going to go home and say? You think he's going to show up and ask what really happened? Or is she going to take her word for it? Now, a real man will come and ask what happened, but you can't trust that the next man is a real man, is a man against nonsense, who's not going to attack another man without a full story. So you got to learn to gauge these situations and protect yourself. Don't argue with it. Don't argue with a woman. You have a disagreement, agree to disagree, and walk away like a man. She's being disrespectful, walk away. If it's a civilized debate, that's different. But you don't get into a heated argument with the woman. It's not in your best interest. Now, some will say, oh, that's sexist. Well, I'm talking to men here. And if there's a woman watching this video and you've been getting in arguments with men, you should share it with him. He shouldn't even be arguing with you. Husband, boyfriend, son, nothing. He has no reason to argue with you to avoid the risk of it going violent and him going to prison. It's dumb. It's not worth it. It's nonsense. And men don't engage